we have returned. I want to get one more of these in. So, in preparation, kind of, I guess, like a taste a little bit of the Tina Turner setup the playlist commentary I'm doing on just her own body of work. I actually wanted to focus on a song that this is actually going to go in the cover version series. And I'm going to start out this whole segment by talking about the fact that this is another one where I was wrong, where I thought one song was the cover and one song was the original. Had no idea. So, the actual story behind this song, and the song we're talking about is Proud Mary, was originally written by John Fogerty, performed by Creedence Clearwater Revival, and the actual date, and this is actually important, the date that the song was released is it peaks at number 2 in March of 1969. Creedence has the most number 2 songs without ever having a number 1. It is released on... I actually have to look. I'm actually looking this up in real time. So it was released in January of 1969. Ike and Tina Turner cover it 2 years later in 1971, and they reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. So, Proud Mary as done by Creedence. We'll talk about that to begin with. Fogerty envisions it as the story of a maid that works for rich people. That she gets off work in the morning, goes to work, and holds their lives together, and they go home, quote unquote. Stu Cook later ends up introducing the riverboat aspect, and thus Proud Mary, after some chord changes and some rewrites, it goes from being a cleanup lady to a riverboat. For Fogerty, he writes a song the day he finally gets his discharge papers from the Army. He got drafted in '66. He's part of a reserve unit in Fort Bragg. And we'll get this right. He gets discharged in '67. The crazy thing about it was that he was just kind of happy to get discharged. He was fine, and I'm going to quote him here. So, I was a hippie with a record on the radio. I've been trying to get out of the Army, and so on the steps of my apartment said a diploma-sized letter from the government. It sat there for a couple of days. I went into the house, opened the thing up. Well, I saw the envelope, bent down to look at it, and noticing it said John Fogerty. I went to the house, opened the thing up, and saw that it was my honorable discharge from the Army. I was finally out. But this was '68, and people were still dying. I was so happy. I ran out to my little patch of lawn and turned cartwheels. Then I went into the house, picked up my guitar, and started strumming. Left a good job in the city. Then several other lines came out. I had the chord changes, the minor chord where it says Big Will Keep on Turning. And I had it. So Fogerty wasn't writing about his experiences of being on the river. He just wrote it after getting discharged. So where the cover version comes in, like I say, Ike and Tina Turner do it 2 years later in '71. And it's a highlight of their live shows. And Tina talks about it in a Rolling Stone interview in '71. And she says, when we cut the album, we were lacking a few tunes, so we said, well, let's just put in a few things that we were doing on stage. And that's how Proud Mary came about. I loved it when it first came out. We auditioned a girl and she had sung Proud Mary. And this is like 8 months later. And I said, I forgot all about that tune. And I said, let's do it, but let's change it. So in the car, Ike plays the guitar and we just sort of jam. And we just sort of broke into the black version of it. It was never planned to say, well, let's go to the record shop. I'd like to record this tune by Aretha Franklin. It's just that we get it for the stage because we give the people a little bit of us and a little bit of what they hear on the radio every day. Unquote. This isn't the only cover of Proud Mary. There were 100 covers. There were 35 covers in '69. Over 100 have been made. The ones that charted were Creedence's version, the Solomon Burke version, which I have not talked about, the Checkmates, which add a little bit to the song, the Turners, and then the Glee cast. The Checkmates actually end up doing, and they do a gospel version of a song that was produced by Phil Spector, which is the whole Phil Spector Wall of Sound story is something I'm gonna do on my main channel as a bit of a retrospective. We'll talk about that when we do like a teaser for it. Now that arrangement, which actually came out in November of '69, influences the Tina Turner version. There's a speculation that Phil Spector, who produced Ike and Tina on the '66 single River Deep Mountain High, brought the Checkmates version to Ike's attention. So there's a little bit of, and you can hear it in the chorus. You can really hear it in the way that he arranges the chorus and the background vocals. You can hear the Checkmates kind of version of it. The interesting part about the CCR version is originally Fogerty wasn't happy with the version, so he records the demo, the harmonies himself, and overdubs them. So in the original version, all that harmony is John Fogerty. This pretty much sets up the dissolution of his own band, but that's a whole other story. Tina does a solo version of this song for the 1993 album of What's Love Got to Do With It, which is a biopic of hers. In the film, it's lip-synced by Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne. They both play Ike and Tina. But on the recording, Tim Capello did Ike's bass vocals. So here comes the interesting part, and really part of the central part of Tina Turner's overall story. That by recording her own version of it with no trace of Ike, it made sure that he couldn't profit from its use in the film or the soundtrack. So it's another, Tina Turner's whole career, the second half of her career, the rock star version of Tina Turner, the iconic version that we know, is really all about taking her agency back. And there are a lot of points along the way, and if you watch the documentary, it's on HBO right now, you should watch it. There are a lot of there were sad points in Tina Turner's life. And she really wanted to stop talking about the Ike and Tina Turner thing. But there are points where that situation gives her the space to take back more of her agency. And the whole thing with having Tim Capello on the bass vocals is another situation of that. There's a whole, when she does it live, there's a variation on the spoken part that's once again a little bit of the, and that's not even the Checkmates thing. The spoken word intro is actually from the Solomon Burke version. So, and there's a whole lot more to it. The crazy thing about it is that Fogerty loves the Tina Turner version of it, and the interesting part about that is, for a long time, Fogerty didn't want to do any CCR stuff. So he's in '87, he's at the Palomino Club in North Hollywood, and he goes there to see Taj Mahal. This is actually, I'm telling the story for a reason. So he's trying to sit there and be incognito, and he's on one side of the room, Bob Dylan's on the other side of the room, there to watch the same show. Somebody that let Taj know who was all in the house, and Taj gets them all on stage. And so they're playing songs, and actually George Harrison's also there. So they all do Twist and Shout. Harrison plays Honey Don't. And at that point, Dylan's like, well, you gotta do Proud Mary. And Fogerty's like, oh, I don't want to do it. And Dylan's like, if you don't do Proud Mary, everybody's gonna think it's a Tina Turner song. And I think there might even be, I gotta find the video for that to include in if there's a video for it, that I haven't looked for yet. So it's just kind of crazy. The other interesting part is is that Proud Mary gets released. The movie Proud Mary comes out 2018. So the funny part is, hang on. So when Fogerty left CCR in '73, he lost the rights to his CCR songs. So he got no money from that. He gets no money about. I don't think he even gets paid for a Tina Turner cover. That's crazy. There's probably a whole other thing I want to do on the main channel about music rights and the masters and stuff like that. That Fogerty deal is very interesting. I did not know that. So that's crazy. But yeah, that's Proud Mary. I think it's a very interesting situation. Check out the Tina Turner documentary if you haven't watched it. I'm still going to get the playlist done. Hopefully get that done and do a larger commentary on the life and career of Tina Turner. I probably really need. I'm going to do one. Don't worry about it. But that's here on Mistake. We're doing this on Mistakes and Mistakes. Hopefully you learned something. I learned something. Catch you later.